Hello everyone, this is Isaac from Hunger Smash Fitness. Just wanted to do a video today, do a product review actually, of some blood flow restriction therapy bands. Shark Tape was nice enough to send me some of them. So first off, I'll talk a little bit about blood flow restriction therapy. It's something that I've recently kind of found out about and wanted to do a little bit more research into. Essentially what you're doing is you're trying to find a way to occlude the blood flow coming back out. So what it does is, I'll show you one of these bands here, and basically you will put this around the limb that you're trying to work, similar to a tourniquet basically, but you don't want it that tight, so you don't want it to have the tension of a tourniquet. What you're trying to do is you're trying to continue to allow the arterial flow to flow into the muscle, but you're trying to block or partially block the venous flow out of the muscle. And it's for a very short period of time. You're not doing an entire workout with these. You're not trying to do an hour-long workout or anything. Usually recommended, you're not going to have it on for more than 15-20 minutes. In my own brief experimentation with these, they start to become quite uncomfortable the longer you wear it. And of course that makes sense because you're causing blood to pool into the muscle. So with the blood flow restriction therapy, there's a lot of research, and there's a bunch of different companies. There's some that do an air bladder, some that just do a regular strap similar to Shark Tape. Some that do, they just have different density materials, and so you can do that. Some people use like exercise bands, like pull-up assistance bands and stuff like that. I would not recommend doing that because it's much harder to correctly gauge how much of the blood flow you are actually restricting. So you could very easily shut down arterial flow. And I know a lot of people say, well, you can be your own judge of that. You're only going for a 7 out of 10 intensity and all that. And I would say, especially if you're just starting out, don't do the elastic bands, don't do the exercise bands, because it's in my opinion, I think it's too risky. If you're in a clinical setting, I would say you definitely want to get a Doppler or something where you can actually measure how much you are occluding, and not leave it up to guesstimations. So for something like this, I would say this is fine for just someone going and trying to finish a workout in the gym. So first off, just looking at the product, well, first of all, I think it's awesome. It comes with this little bag. You can put everything in here. They ended up sending me the pack, so there's two for your legs that are longer, and then 2 for the arms that are slightly shorter. And one thing I liked about this was my arms, without working out, my arms are usually about an 18-inch or so, and this was long enough to actually comfortably go around those and still properly occlude without running the risk of not having enough extra, so it's going to fall off or something. So I like that. They're long enough to work. It has, you can see it's just a regular kind of plastic clip right here on the end. It doesn't feel super high quality, but it's definitely sturdy. It's not going to just break on you. And you shouldn't be tightening it to the point where it's just going to snap. Now over time, I don't know what the longevity of these are, so that'd be something you'd want to keep in mind. But for the whole pack, it's about 20 bucks for the pack, a little over. And I think that's easily affordable for most individuals who are trying to use this to supplement their training. And if you're going to do blood flow restriction training, you would usually want to do it at the end of a workout. So you would want to do your regular workout, and you're going to have pooling of blood in the limbs naturally as you work out. That's why your muscles swell up, because as you're exercising, blood is going to be flowing into those muscles to feed them, to nourish them, so that they can function properly. And that's part of the whole physiological effect of exercise. So what this is doing is, when you tighten it around the muscle, you don't want to shut down the arterial flow. You want to allow the blood to continue to flow into the limb and just pull it tight enough so that you can restrict the venous outflow. And I was looking up, there's a bunch of different studies talking about whether 20% occlusion or 40%, 80%. From my research, it looks like the 40 to 80% occlusion is the most effective. Now, I would say if you want to actually know what all is happening, I would recommend actually going to a class, and that is something that I will look forward to doing in the future. At some point, I would like to go and actually find a clinical education class that would meet that criteria for me. But these are pretty nice. They the positive of them is that it's a very durable material. It doesn't feel like it's going to wear out anytime soon. And especially for $20, I think that's fantastic. It's just a simple band that you can wrap around, put on for the 15-20 minutes that it takes you to do your exercises, and then take off and allow the blood to flow normally. Shark Tape, they were super easy to work with. Emailing them back and forth, they got back to me right away. So they're definitely a company that I think, it seems like it's a good company, where if you had a problem or something like that, you could contact them. And they seem extremely accommodating, easy to talk to. So when you're putting these on, most of the studies that I looked at where you don't have the Doppler, where you can't actually see how much you're occluding, they usually recommend a 7 out of 10 intensity, and that's going to vary person by person. So if you don't have a Doppler, it's going to take some trial and error. Definitely, if it comes to the point where you can't stand the sensation, take it off. If it feels like the arm is going numb or anything like that, yeah, you want to take it off. You want to allow it to breathe, or not breathe. You want the blood flow to return to normal. But I really liked these bands because, so my arms without a pump are usually right at 18 and a quarter. I had to measure them because I didn't know. So then I tried doing an arms workout without the bands, and my arms will go up to, it was about an 18 and a half, 18 3/4, somewhere around there. So they get a little bit bigger, not dramatically necessarily. But when I was using the bands, they actually swell up to about a 19 and a quarter. So it definitely does cause a lot more pooling of blood in the muscles. So I thought that was really interesting. And then also, when you're doing the exercises, it seems like the best approach from my studies, the best approach is to do 30 reps immediately and then 15, 15, 15. But a lot of what I was seeing was people weren't really paying attention to the breaks in between. And there were a couple studies that I found, and I can try and link some studies to the video down below if you want to do more of your own research as well. But some of the studies that I found were saying definitely you want to have a shorter rest between, because you're already forcing that pooling to happen, and then when you are constricting, you're actually going to increase the pressure, so it's going to in a way decrease the occlusion that is happening. And you don't want to risk keeping these on for a super long period of time, because like I said, it acts like a tourniquet. So you want to be mindful of that. It seems like the best length of time to keep the occlusion on is probably in between sets, resting about 20 to 40 seconds or so. So it's not a super long rest. You're doing with a light weight, and that's going to vary based off of how much you use these, because of course you're going to adapt to it naturally. But also, you will not be able to do a max effort when you're wearing one of these. It just doesn't work that way. So there are a ton of uses for blood flow restriction therapy. They can be anything for injury recovery to hypertrophy or strength gains, anything along those lines, because it's going to be very similar to just working out, where you're going to be pushing blood into the muscle and then causing a ton of stress to that muscle, and so there's going to be healing that occurs. So blood flow restriction therapy can really be used for just about anything. It can be, it seems like it can be extremely helpful with a bunch, anything that you want to attempt with it. So if you're just trying to get stronger, or you're trying to get bigger, or you're trying to recover post-injury, it can be used for any of those things. So honestly, it doesn't seem like there's necessarily anything in particular that it can be used for. I would recommend, especially if you're older, especially if you have heart problems, anything along those lines, talk to your doctor before doing it. There's no reason to put yourself in unnecessary risk when you don't need to. So keep that in mind before you pursue anything along these lines. So when putting the band on, I think there's two ways that you really could do it. The first way that I tried doing it, because you have both those holes that you can do it through. And the first way that I tried was just like so, through that. And so you're just holding the one clasp in there. And I found that this way allowed me to pull it a lot tighter than I could otherwise, but it was less likely to stay tight. So some of the benefits of doing it that way is that, yeah, I could cinch it down a lot tighter, but since all you have holding it in place is this little strap, and it slides back and forth, so you can see how easily it slides along. And it doesn't stay consistently tight. It would loosen up during the workout, holding it that way. The other way that I found that I could do it is actually going up through this part here and then back down. So you're creating a loop right here. And this way, it was much harder to tighten it that way, because you're fighting against this edge right here. So it was a lot harder to tighten it, but it stayed tight really well. And as soon as I was done, I could just push up on this lever right here and it'd take off the pressure, physics, and it would loosen automatically. And so it was much easier to control how tight it got, but it takes longer to cinch down. So kind of to show you, holding it this way right here, and I find that it's most comfortable if the buckle is on the outside right here. And so you're just going to cinch it down like so. And then I try to preset the Velcro strap right there as much as possible. And right away I can feel that it's starting to tighten. And so you can see, here I'll bring the camera down a little bit. And so you can see right away it's pulling it tight. It's occluding it to an extent. And so even comparing the arms this way, you can see that this one already has more tension on it, and it's providing that occlusion. And I can check right here, I can still feel my pulse coming across. If you need, you can check your radial pulse, you can check, anything like that, which I think is a wonderful idea to maintain, to really keep an eye on your pulse. Is it shutting it down completely, or is it just occluding the venous flow out? Now, of course, like I said, the downside of these bands is that you can't really check how much you're occluding. There's not a guaranteed way. So each workout is going to have a slightly different occlusion percentage, because you're not going to be able to guesstimate completely the same every single workout. Now, this band right here, like even as is, I can feel it causing the blood to pool in my muscle here, but it's not uncomfortable. It's a wide enough band where it still feels all right. It's still comfortable to wear. And if you're holding a weight or something like that, I did a couple workouts with it, and I can post some videos about that as well. And it's not excruciatingly uncomfortable or anything like that. Now, the other way that I had to do it, so I was just spitballing, and like I said, the only downside with this is you're fighting the friction to get it tight. And so it takes a lot longer to cinch it down. But then when you cinch it down, it stays there. It doesn't vary. So I really liked that. And so when I was doing it this way, I feel like it's more comfortable because I didn't feel it slide at all. The other way, there were a couple times where I was working out, and when you really start getting into it, and you'd feel it move. And so this one, you can see I can flex against it as hard as I want, and it's not going to go anywhere. But the nice thing about it is this way, I just push on this lever right here, and it comes right off. So one downside to these is that they are going to mark up your skin. So you can see after I take them off, it's going to leave red marks on your skin. You can't really see it too much, but that's not necessarily, it's not a huge problem. It is more comfortable. I tried them on bare skin, and I tried it over a sleeve. It's much more comfortable over a sleeve just because of the material that they're made of. If you try doing it on bare skin and it happens to slide at all, it's the same material. It feels very similar to a seat belt or something like that. And so if you cinch down a seat belt on you and then slide it over your skin, it's not a very comfortable feeling. And so it's the same thing with these. So I would recommend probably doing it over a t-shirt, just because it'd be nice to have that barrier between the skin. Now, the downside with that is the t-shirt can very easily get bunched up, and that can become uncomfortable. So you want to be very mindful of that, and just be aware of where the bunching is going to occur, and then also know that you're not going to have it on for a super long time. So it's one of those things where if you get it on, do your 4 sets, 30, 15, 15, 15, with your short breaks in between, and then take it off. And that's really all that you have to do with this. Overall, I really like these bands. They're a very, very basic design, very basic setup, but for $20, they're perfect. I would say for someone just trying to finish off their workouts, I'd say it's a great go-to. Obviously, there's a lot of more high tech that give you a lot more options where you can actually monitor things. And a lot of them that I was looking at where you could actually measure how much you're occluding, they're going to range anywhere from $300 to several $1,000s for a setup. So if you just want something to finish your workout with, I'd say this is a pretty nice go-to for that. I didn't know anything about blood flow restriction until just recently. I heard about it and started doing more research into it. It looks really interesting, really fascinating. Makes a lot of sense, I think. But it's one of those things that if you're going to be attempting anything like this, do your research first and really make sure that you're going about it in a safe manner. I do not put on one of these for your entire workout, especially if you're going to be doing a bunch of bench or anything like that where it's going to be a super heavy compound movement. Don't attempt anything like this. It puts you at risk far more than you need to be. The nice thing about these is that you can get the arms and the legs, and so you can do more isolation workouts for each. I would say that this would be more of an isolation. This is more of an open chain movement type of tool that you can use, where if you're going to be doing, you know, bicep curls, you know, hamstring curls, something along those lines, where it's more of an open chain, you can control how much weight, so you're only doing, you know, 20% of your max or so. I'd say these are a great supplementary to that. Yeah, so if you have any questions about it, definitely feel free, comment down below. And do your research before attempting anything like this. This is not something, there are some gym tools that you can jump right in and use, and I would say this is one that you would want to look up a little bit first and make sure that you're going to go about it in a safe manner. But yeah, I'd say that's about it for today, and like I said, please like and subscribe down below. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you have any ideas for anything else that you'd like to hear about. You can always hit me up. I'm always willing to have a conversation about anything, and yeah, I guess that's about it for today. So just remember to always improve that 1%. Thanks.